Hi, welcome. I just wanted to give you guys a bit of a sneak peek at what's happening on my game design front. If you've been following stuff on Twitter or Facebook, you would have seen Victory Point Games have picked up my first thematic / Euro / deck builder hybrid board game design. I've done one other game which was Mentis, which was an abstract. But this one is really the one that I'm really excited about, and I've been working on for years. But what I wanted to do is give a quick preview of how the game sets up and plays, and we're just going to look at the introduction. There's 3 levels. There's copper, silver and gold that you progress through. You're going to be combating the enemy, if you like. These are going to be Alpha Moby, he's kind of like your level 1, Spiders your level 2, Vikings your level 3, and then level 4 is the SMC, the supermassive computer called Mother. So yeah, this is a game about renegades who are these cyberpunk hackers who are trying to hack into these SMCs, these supermassive computers. It's just a term that I've coined to describe the opponents. This is all prototype, obviously, just my own artwork and components and pictures that have just been grabbed off a quick Google search. So none of this is proper artwork. Let me get set up and I'll show you how this plays. These cards are advanced command cards. This is a deck that you can build your own deck from. I wanted to do something new with deck building, so this was the idea I came up with. Let's choose Hetty. Let's try Spider. Spider's good. Yeah, let's try Spider. No, we'll try Spider's level 2, Viking's level 3. Let's try Viking. I wanted to do something new with deck building. So the idea here is, you know, with deck builders, you've always got like a deck, and it gets smaller and bigger, and you can, you know, kind of purge it of stuff or add good stuff to it. Your deck in Renegade is always going to be 15 cards. So every time you add a card, you have to take a card away. All right, and this is pretty good because it gives construct to the game. Every round of the game, we're going to be playing 5 cards. All the coppers. You're going to be playing 5 cards, which means every round is like, you go through your deck once is going to be like 3 turns, if you like, 3 turns of 5, right? 15 cards. These are the different characters you can play. So there's going to be 4 characters in the game. We've got Hetty, Magnetic, Monty Quantum, Oshinoro, and Tilda Sweet, wherever she is. We set up the board. These are our servers, right? These are the things that we're going to be hacking into. And the way we set them up is we first give them a bit of a shuffle. There's our opponent. I'll set it up this way around so you can see. So we place a tile down, and it has to be oriented in a certain way. Each one of these is a server, and these are the things that we're going to be controlling. Faith is going to be the server that the SMC kind of is kind of like their root, you know, the place where we don't have immediate access to. Salvation came out next. So once you know the tiles, you kind of know where you're trying to put things. Let's put that one there, and then virtual slot in there. Okay. So there's my setup. I'm yellow, so I get to place my avatar. I'm connecting to the network via an avatar here. I get 1 contaminant to start me off. Our contaminants are double-sided tokens. There's only 15 of each, so you've got to be kind of a bit careful how you use them. But these are the things that you're hacking into the system with. Okay, and we've got, these ones are red and one side, yellow on the other. So red is viruses and yellows are replicants. Red are things that are kind of destructive. Yellow are things that are kind of deceptive. When we're using our cards, you'll have yellow cards, red cards, and they'll generate red and yellow contaminants, these things, and they'll be of that kind of theme. They're a destructive theme or a deceptive theme. I'm Hetty. I start with one replicant. It says so on my card. The other thing that you get during setup is the green-blue ones. The green ones are like these neural uplinks. Blue ones are data nodes. So blue ones are like information or data, knowledge about the system. Green ones are cognition. All right, so it's your ability to use your brain power, whether that be through some hallucinogens or, you know, you get the idea. Some kind of neural power. Okay, so these ones are more about knowledge, information, cognition. All right, well, we get 4 data nodes to start the game. We place one on each access point that's not occupied. So if this is 1 to 4 players. I started with a solo game, and then we kind of had 2, 3, 4 players come in as a co-op. So if you're playing with more than one player, and let's say you have the green player, then this will be occupied, so you don't get this extra data node. So this kind of scales the setup a little bit. And then you can move these right away. So you can take them and kind of place them where you feel might be useful. These blue data nodes, they create pathways that your avatar can move along. All right. Normally you can move, and you can move from one adjacent partition to the next. But with these pathways, you can kind of slide and get about a lot quicker. So that's why I've chosen to bring them into a line here. All right. Then we have some setup associated with Viking himself. And he says, place a spark. Right. These are the countermeasures. These are the things that the SMC is going to be fighting you with. So let's place a spark. It says on every partition, each one of these smaller hexes is a partition. Each one of these bigger tiles is a server. It says place a spark on every odd-numbered partition on Faith. What you'll see here is each of these partitions are numbered. All right, the artwork here is not great, but I've just got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 partitions on each server, which is kind of nice, because when we're picking a server, we're going to roll dice. Okay, so 1 to 6, it just kind of fit nicely. And these little cutout bits off the, you know, I could have made it a full hex, but these kind of allow you to. What it means is when you're setting up the network, I wanted there to be lots of different formations and to force players into using lots of different formations. And this is why you have these 2 rules that A, everything has to be oriented the same way, and B, you've got this cutout hex, as well as allowing me to have the 6 partitions per server. But it also meant quite well. I mean, imagine if these were all, you know, 7 hexes, you kind of tend to have the same kind of layouts, because wherever you laid a partition, it could always fit into another one. But when you've got this kind of layout, and you have to keep your orientation the same, you're kind of forced into these more interesting layouts, you know. At one time we thought, well, could you reorientate them? Well, it ended up that when doing that, you ended up having networks which look the same all the time. But with these 2 rules combined, we have things that look very different. It's a neat little trick, and I'm really pleased with that design, and I've kind of fought for that to stay in the design. And I hope the artists do a great job and understand that. And I think this is why it's an important idea to make sure everyone understands the intentions of the designer. Instantiation, so 1 spark on every odd numbered partition, and then 1 spark on every odd numbered open partition. An open partition are these ones around the edge. An open partition is one that has an open side. These other ones, like here, these are closed partitions. And that's significant because Viking, he likes lots of open partitions. Spider, he likes casting a web. He likes lots of closed partitions. So what we call is this is kind of a closed network, and an open network might look more like this. You know, we've got more open partitions, very few closed partitions. And that also comes into play when we look at some of the different card abilities. Like there's one called the Nidam Ship, which allows you to move from any open partition to any other open partition, kind of like you're running around the outside of the network. Okay, so every odd numbered open partition, in fact, what it should say is without a spark. Alright, so we don't put 2 on here and here. Okay, so that's Viking set up. He looks very different, and I like Viking in the way he sets up differently from the rest of the SMCs. Anyway, what's this game all about? Well, the game is all about getting victory points. This, every round, copper, silver, gold. So let's start with an easy one, copper. Copper ones tend to be kind of, you should get them resolved quite quickly and have time to resolve some of the issues that are going on the board. These are called countermeasures. At one point, Tyler, one of our developers, put intrusion, but it should be countermeasure. This one says that we need to have 2 replicants on this card for each player, and every time we use the modify action, we place 1 replicant from the network on this card, right? So that's our objective for the round, or for the turn. Right, how do we go about doing this? Well, we have a starting deck. Right, we need to take out the basic cards. So basic cards are going to give you skills. Every action you take in the game requires different types of skill. And we already said how we have deception, destruction, cognition and information. So your basic deck of 15 cards is going to give you access to those different resources, different skills, right? So we've got yellow for deception, green for cognition, blue for information, and red for destruction. Every player, I'm playing Hetty, has a different starting 15 cards. There's only 1 card that's different. 14 cards are common. If you like, it was 16 common cards, and I took 1 out for each different person you play. You draw a hand of 5 cards. You also set up a bar. So this is like an imaginary, saloon, a bar that you go to in Renegade City. So this is somewhere you can go and you can trade with all the unsavoury characters for upgrades. And the idea here is to improve your deck. Each one of these has a cost, and some of these are pretty, no-brainers. To make the trade is always good. So, for example, Ginger Cool here. This one costs 1 cognition, which I can get from my basic card here called Bypass. And remember I said that you have to, when you add 1 card, you take 1 card out. The card you take out will come from the cards amongst the cards that you've used to generate the skill you need. Now you can overskill. Let's say, well, actually I wanted to keep Bypass, but I don't really want Interrupt, so I'm going to use 1 cognition and 1 deception skill. And those are the 2 skills that I've used to acquire this card. I've used a bit of deception and a little bit of cognition to make the trade. I'll discard this one and I'll trade in that one. Okay? So this one goes to my discard pile. This one goes to my hand. Now that's important because if it was to go to your discard, remember we've only got 15 cards and we're going to go through our deck once per turn, and there's only going to be 3 turns in the whole game. So if it went here to the discard pile, I'd only get to use it twice. Putting it straight to our hands makes the game much more active. Getting cards that you can use straight away is a real bonus. As it goes, I don't want to use that one. I'm going to use this one. Okay. So I'll keep Interrupt. I don't want to overspend. And the reason why is because I know that my objective here is to get yellow stuff, right? Get deceptive stuff. I need to place a new replicant on the network. But how do I get new replicants on the network? Well, these different actions. You can upload them using 3 resources. Or free skill rather. You can upload any 1 replicant. So 3 deception will allow me to upload a replicant. If I had 3 cognition, I could upload a green thing, one of these, right, which is an uplink. Now there's a wild card on some of these cards. If you look at sabotage, you can see it's got a purple resource, but there isn't a purple one. Purple is called leadership, and leadership, as well as being a skill in itself, you can use your leadership to generate any one of the other 4 types. Okay, so with that, this card, sabotage, I could create one destruction, but I could also use the leadership here as leadership, or as information, as deception, or cognition. Okay, so I might upload with these 3 a deception, or I might choose to use Ginger Call for its 2 green and its 1 leadership as 3 green, and upload an uplink. The other way of doing stuff is to modify the sparks. And the good thing about replicants, remember I told you how data nodes, these things allow you to travel more quickly. All the other types of contaminant have their own unique skill or ability. So viruses, the red ones, they allow you to attack and destroy contaminants on the network, sparks on the network. The yellow ones allow you to modify them, but you need to have more replicants than there are sparks. So here we have 2 replicants, 1 spark, and then you can take an action called modify, and it costs 1 deception resource. So I have to spend a card, use a card to generate 1 deception skill. I keep saying resources because at one time we would call them resources, but it didn't make sense really, so skill. I can use 1 deception to turn that spark into something else, and the something else is given by another card. So I could turn it into a data node, right, like this, by discarding, playing those 2 cards. Okay, but my avatar has to be there. You have to be there on that partition to do that. So that's what replicants do. And then the uplinks, well, they don't do anything on themselves, but once you've got 3 uplinks, you can turn them into a neural hub. And the good thing about a neural hub, which is made from 3 uplinks, is that if you're sitting on a partition with a neural hub, you can control the whole server without being on that partition. So if I'm sitting here and I've got 2 replicants here, I could actually do a modify action and turn that into something without my avatar being there, because it's on the same server and I'm sitting on a partition with a neural hub. So it's like a control, like a center point of control. The other contaminants, they can also be turned into these installations. So the green ones, they get turned into a neural hub. The blue ones, they get turned into a port. So 3 blue ones, you can turn them into a port. And the good thing about ports is if you've got 2 ports on the board, then blue is all about being able to travel. You can jump from one port to another. Right? If you've got ports all over the board, you can jump about. The yellow ones, these replicants, you can create a replicator from 3 replicants. And what they do, if you're sitting here, is they allow you to more cheaply make replicants. Okay. So what you do, instead of costing 3 deception to upload a new replicant, what you can do here is take the replicate action, and this will allow you to generate replicants for just 1 resource, for 1 deception skill. Right, so that's a quick way of getting more of these attacking contaminants out, and the same for the red ones. So if you've got 3 red contaminants, you can turn them into a propagator. Okay, so 3 viruses make a propagator, and here you can spawn for 1 red skill, 1 destruction skill, you can spawn 1 virus. Right? So these 2 allow you to get more things out on the board more cheaply. So there's different types of contaminants, each with different skills, and they can be turned into installations, each with their own skills. The sparks, there's only 25 available to you. If you ever run out of sparks, you lose the game. And 3 sparks make a guardian. And if you make a guardian, that's going to destroy everything on the partition. Okay, guardians are like the the strongest opponent that you have that the SMC uses to attack you. So sparks appear, 3 in one place, immediately creates the Guardian, destroys everything on that partition, and there's only 5 Guardians available to you. So if you have to place a 6th, then you immediately lose the game. So those are the 2 ways of losing. If you don't lose, then you win, but you get victory points by completing these countermeasure objectives. Okay, so here we are. Let's do some moving about to show you what we can do. Let's see, is there anything else in the... Actually, I might just upgrade and grab another Ginger Cool. So this is going to cost me 1 cognition skill. Focus gives me 2 cognition, and I'll discard it like so. Now I've got 2 Ginger Cools. And the good thing about these advanced ones is they give you 2 skill, right? So you've skilled up. But they've also got this effect down here. So what Ginger Cool says, use this effect any time during the command phase to re-roll the spark dice. I'm going to show you that in a moment. The spark dice are how we get new sparks on the network. Now as it goes, you don't roll for sparks in the first command cycle. Playing cards from your hand is called a command cycle of the game. What else can we do? I could take emit EMP, but sabotage is a good one because it's got leadership. So what I really want to do is I want to do some moving and I can't. So I'm going to use sabotage, 1 leadership, as a piece of information, and that allows me to move through network. And I'm going to move 1 partition over here. And then because I'm on this partition, I'm going to use the modify. Now normally, like I said, I told you need 2 more replicants than there are sparks, so I'd need 2 replicants here to modify. But this is where Hetty's special comes in. What Hetty says is that her avatar counts as a replicant when using the modify action. So I've effectively got 2 replicants there. And I can use, this one gives me 2 deception skill, I only need 1. To turn that into another replicant, right? I could turn it into anything, but I'm going to turn it into a replicant. And that's part of what my objective is here. It says each time a player uses modify, place 1 replicant from the network on this card. And I need to have 2 here by the end of the turn. So let's take 1 from the network and place it here. That's why I wanted to make another one. Okay. Now let's see. I can save 1 card, so I'll save 1 card and then draw back up. So draw 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I cheated. That's what I did. I cheated at my own game. Right. I took 6 cards. I took 6 cards in the first round for some reason. Did I do that by accident? I don't know. Can't remember. Okay. Anyway, here we are. First, roll for sparks. Yeah, and refill the bar. So I refilled the bar from this deck, just the empty spots. And now I roll these dice. These are called the spark dice. Now there, Viking has a special instruction, and it says, while we're playing copper, we put 1 spark on the network. When we move into silver, we're going to roll the dice twice and put sparks on 2 participants, and the same in gold. But it says when we spawn a spark, if we place it next to an existing one, like here, then it would kind of join in with it. But I'll show you. Some things are easier to demonstrate than explain. So roll the dice, and we got a white and a 5. Now if this showed green 5, then green 5 is here. We would place a spark here. Okay, that's how sparks come out onto the board. Now every player is going to be doing this, and the more players you have, the more sparks are going to be appearing each time. This one was white, and this kind of gives the SMC a little bit of artificial intelligence, if you like, because instead of going on, there's no white server. White means whichever server you're sitting on. So I'm sitting on the yellow server called Virtue, so this one goes to yellow 5, and we've got 2 sparks here now. Okay. What Viking says is if you place a spark on an empty partition, so So if this one wasn't here when we placed it down, and there's an adjacent partition, then move it into it. Yeah, an adjacent partition that does have a spark, and it uses the high. If there's more than one, it uses the highest number. As it goes, this isn't an empty partition; it's just going to sit there. Now, the idea of Vikings AI, if you like, is that let's say I put this one here, it's going to go and merge in with that one, right? Then remember, 3 sparks make a guardian, so immediately that would happen. So this is what Viking's about. He's about trying to form guardians and try and make you lose the game as quickly as possible. So the players, when you're playing, not only are we trying to fill our objectives, but we're also trying to keep an eye on the board and what's going on here, and countering these countermeasures. So I can move once more, but before I do, I'm actually, yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use Ginger Cool. And what Ginger Cool, I can't use it for its 2 skill, I'm going to use it for its execute effect. I can re-roll the spark dice at any time. So let's discard this, and take that off, and let's re-roll. I got white 5 again. 3. Are these dice loaded or something? I think they are. That's yellow 3. God knows how many times in a row. And that's yellow 5. Help me, help me. I need to fix my dice. My prototype dice are loaded for some reason. Let's not cheat. Let's put it back where it was. And what I'll do is I'll go and get duality, which costs 1 red. We'll put that in our hand. Now I'll use injector kit and duality to upload. Okay, this is yellow, leadership yellow. I can use that as free yellow, and I'm going to upload. So I'm taking the upload action. I'm putting another replicant on my partition. Remember, upload. Then I'm going to trade for emit EMP, which costs 2 red, and I give 2 red. Swap this one. This is now in my hand. Actually, I'm going to save this one next turn. Let's draw back up. This is our final command phase. We've got 1 more command cycle, so 6 more cards. That's 5 I drew, and the 1 I saved to fulfill this objective. So we've drawn back up. Let's refill the bar. 1, 2, 3. Let's roll for sparks. Yellow 1. Adam and Eve it. Which is down here. I'm telling you, that die is loaded. Alright, let's have a look at our card and see if there's anything we can do. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. All I want to do is I'm going to use 2 blue to move twice. And like I say, you can move contaminants with you when you move. So I'm going to take these 2 with me. Now, there's 2 sparks here, 2 contaminants, but Hetty's ability means I can treat that as 3 versus 2. Alright, and now I can do a modify. I just need a yellow and a yellow, and I'm going to modify this one into a yellow. But then I've got to take 1 from the network and place it here. That's what this shattered glass told me to do. So that was my shattered glass. There is more I can do here. Emit EMP allows me to shift stuff from all sparks from my current partition, or even break up a guardian. So emit EMP is really strong. And let me show you what happens here. I'm going to use this 1 leadership as a yellow to do the modify, and this leadership on data scan as a red to modify this into a red. Okay, a virus. Now we've got a virus here. Okay. Now the good thing about viruses is, let's say there was another spark here. What I can do with this is I can play red destruction skill. I'll use that leadership as a red as well. So that gives me 2 destruction. And then we have an action called infect. And with infection, what we do is we roll our dice. We roll the dice and we get a score. The resistance score is the black die plus the number of sparks. So the SMC has a resistance score of 7. The infection score is the number of viruses plus the number of destructive resources we generated, in this case 2, plus this die. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4v7, we lose, we remove a virus. Okay. If we'd rolled 6 versus 5, okay, he scores 7. This time my score is 5, 6, 7, 8. I win, and I remove the spark instead. Okay, so this is a way of battling down sparks if you haven't got modifiers or enough. Imagine there's 2 sparks here, and this is the other good thing. If he wins the roll, he removes just 1 virus. If I win the roll, I remove all sparks. Okay, so it does mitigate a little bit of that frustration if you've got a nice army of viruses and this happens. You don't want that to happen because, you know, that's frustrating for the players. If it does happen, you're only going to lose 1 virus, right? So if you had 3 viruses sitting here, what that means is you lose 1. All right, let's battle again. You play some more red resources. You battle again, and lo and behold, you win. And you get rid of their sparks. Okay? So that's what the red ones do, and this is what these are called, the infection dice. Okay, that ends the command cycle. We've played all of our 15 cards, and we've got nothing left in our hand. Okay? What we do now is we move into the countermeasures phase. If there's any sparks sitting on any partitions, actually there's one here, with our countermeasures, then we remove those countermeasures. So the sparks are destroying all our hard work. Viruses act as good defenders. If, during the countermeasures phase, when these spark attacks happen, they don't immediately destroy viruses. Everything else they do. But if you've got a virus here, then you roll a dice and you have a battle. In this case, he won, so we remove this and then we remove this. Right, so you resolve all those virus spark battles first, and then anything's left, you just immediately destroy. Okay, so there's another reason to keep the numbers of sparks down. Once we've done the spark attacks, we look at our objective and we say, have we succeeded in having the goal, which was to have 2 replicants here per player? All right, we have. So we flip over. All right, now these cards are double-sided. And on each side there's what you do if you fail, what you do if you succeed. Now the failure stuff is normally going to be quite horrible. So this one says return all the replicants that were on this card back to the supply and add a spark to 3 different partitions: Salvation 6, Justice 1, Faith 6, 4 partitions, and Virtue 1. Right, so it's going to put more sparks on the board. But we succeeded, we met the objective. Now, not only does this give us victory points that we can use to score at the end, so we can keep this aside as a count of how well we've succeeded, it also gives us a success effect. It says, flip all replicants on this card and place them on the network anywhere you like. So flipping is a good mechanism. Because these things are double-sided, what it means is I flip them, they become viruses, and we can place these anywhere on the network. Alright, that's what I had. So let's say, you know what, I'm going to place 2 here. Okay, put them wherever I like. And then the next stage, the final stage of the countermeasure card, are these arrows. And these arrows keep the board dynamic, not static. It says I move the lowest spark up 1 partition on yellow, the highest spark down on purple, the lowest spark up on blue, and the highest spark down on red. Okay? So yellow down means I go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1 is the lowest, he moves down. Now 1 wraps down to 6, so he just moves down the way. So it is up, it was yellow up, so 1 to 2. Purple down, so I find the highest partition on the purple service, Faith, 6, 5, and I move him down 1. Blue up, so that's 1 to 2. And then red down, so the highest down. So you can see this keeps the board dynamic, and what it also means is that, you know, when these things are moving, so they could potentially cause things to clump up. All right. and form guardians. Remember, guardians lose you the game. And that's it. We then move on to the next round of the game. We shuffle up our command deck. We've now got 15 cards. We've got a couple of advanced ones in there now because we levelled up a little bit. We've levelled up quite a lot actually. The ones that we didn't take from the bar, they get recycled. That means we just place them on the bottom. These basic ones, they get discarded. This goes on the bottom. And then we draw 4 new ones for the start of the new day, if you like. The bar's been emptied, new people have arrived. We keep this as a trophy, and then we draw a random silver countermeasure. There's 7 in the game. There's 7 of each level, so we get a random one. And this is going to be our random objective. This one's called double switch. All right, and then once we complete that one, we move on to gold, and then you count up your final score. So that's the game. That's a very, very fast overview of what Renegade is all about. So you can see it's a mixture of the theme of deck building and this kind of very Euro-like using skills, kind of like resources, to make stuff happen on the board. And the way you use your cards to affect what's going on the board. And what's key here is that there's more than one way to fulfill each of those objectives. So I was using modify to generate more yellows to do more modifies. You know, you could be using upload to create more replicants to fulfill the objective, or you could say, actually, I'm going to concentrate on building a replicator, and once I've got that replicator built, then I can start pumping out replicants really cheaply. Yeah, so you might find that's a more productive method with more players in the game, because between you could build the replicator very quickly, and then everyone is generating replicants very quickly and using them to modify. Okay, so there's going to be different strategies. I mean, it comes down to what cards you get dealt, what comes up in the bar, how you can best utilise the cards to affect what's going on the board. And the idea of Copper is that you can get it done quite quickly, whilst at the same time kind of putting some infrastructure in place. Some of the rewards will allow you to put infrastructure in place. So, you know, if you solve the objective quickly, you can then start putting ports down, or maybe then you can start putting down these propagators so that you can spawn viruses that protect different servers. Or maybe you say, well, actually, I'm going to get a neural hub down so that I can control justice. I'm going to clear out all the sparks from here, or maybe faith, and then get rid of all the sparks and keep on top of that partition. So when you're playing solitaire, you've got quite a lot to do. When you're playing multiplayer, you can kind of split the work up and, you know, decide between you as a team who's going to do what. You know, you could all kind of act kind of independently, or you could say, what, you know, your role is to look after these 2 servers, your role is to look after those ones, or your aim is to fulfill that, you know, the countermeasure. How you work together, you know, and this is what I liked about the design, was, you know, being able to do things in lots of different ways. And also the variability that, you know, which cards come up, the formation of the network, which countermeasures come out, which avatars you play, which profiles you take, which SMCs you battle. Spider, he's one that likes to... He doesn't move, actually. He says he's got a special that says, don't move. And all his sparks, what they'll do is they like to form a kind of a web around partitions. They don't want to clump up. They don't like forming guardians. What they'll do instead is they like to get lots of sparks out on the board. Remember, if you run out of sparks, you also lose. And if they surround a partition where you've got stuff like an installation or some countermeasures, as soon as they surround that partition, they destroy everything on it and replace it with a spark. So these things can be quite nasty once they get going. You've really got to keep on top of Spider. That's your level 2 SOC. Anyway, I think I've shown you enough to get a good feel for the game. Obviously there's 21 different countermeasures, plus the 3 simulator ones that come and introduce everyone to all the different types of actions you can take. So we've shown move. Shift is a good one. That allows you to, if you're on here and you've got use your cognition, you can push sparks off to another or shift them to another partition. Install, we've seen. Spawn and replicate, we've seen. Upload, modify, buying things from the bar, and infecting. All right. So that's the key. These have different abilities. These also have different abilities. I hope you've enjoyed this little preview. I know I went really, really quickly, but I wanted to keep it as short as possible. That's Renegade. Look out for it. Fingers crossed for 2015. The year's flying by, but I know we're only in February, but these things take so long. I think the first seeds of this game started in 2010. All right, so we're talking nearly 5 years ago. As we see it now, it's been with the VPG Victory Point Games for well over a year now, 18 months, something like that. But we're getting closer. We're getting closer. That's it. Bye for now.